Tune into the Seltzer Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.
With Amex Platinum,
welcome to the Centurion Lounge.
You get access to the Centurion Lounge, so the sounds of vacation start before you get there. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
You're late.
You're lying.
What did you just say to me?
You're well aware we landed 2 hours before we planned to, with all the goods you sent us after intact, ready to roll. It's your decision to get tetchy, say we're late. Means you're looking to put us on the defensive right up front, which means something's gone wrong. It didn't go wrong on our end, so why don't we start again with you telling us what's up?
You're later than I'd like.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
You got in here sooner. You might have beaten the bulletin that came up saying, rogue vessel classification Firefly was spotted pulling illegal salvage on a derelict transport.
Didn't ideas. Doesn't lead to you.
No, it doesn't. But the government's stamp on every molecule of the cargo just maybe, mate. Oh, you noticed that? You were going to hand over imprinted goods and just let me twist. Is that the case?
We didn't pick the cargo.
And I didn't flash my ass at the Gorham law. It's no deal.
That ain't fair.
Crime and politics, little girl. Situation is always fluid.
Only fluid I see here is a puddle of piss refusing to pay us our wage.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Boys Watching Firefly. We're just two boys watching every episode of Firefly for the first time, giving our review, our reactions. We're your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 1, titled Serenity, written and directed by Joss Whedon. The original air date was December 20th, 2002, to an audience of 4.16 million people. And if you are new here, welcome to the Boys Watching ... universe.
Expanded universe.
Yes. If you don't know, we've done a couple of these podcasts where Vance and I, go through shows that we've never watched before, missed the boat on or something, and watch every episode and give our review of every episode and what we think's going to happen. We've done it with the HBO series Girls. That was our original podcast, Boys Watching Girls. Then we moved on to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And then we also are doing Angel, the series, on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/boyswatchingbuffy, if you're curious about that. And now we have moved on to our third Joss Whedon show, Firefly. So yeah, that's just what to expect. There's some hijinks. We do some bits every once in a while. Yeah, it's a little goofy here. But yeah, if you're returning and you're listening, welcome back. So happy to have you on the journey as we go through Firefly. One of the things that we do, we have a Discord channel where people that listen to the podcast can interact and let us know what you thought of the episode and what you thought of our episode as well. If you have any fun facts or anything, that's a good place to put that. So we have a link to our Discord in the show notes of this podcast. We also have a Patreon, as I mentioned, where we do Boys Watching Angel. We're still in the middle of that. We also do another tier for Boys Watching Movies, where once a month we review a movie that just we randomly select, sometimes off of audience suggestions and everything like that.
And we should announce this month's movie is going to be Evil Dead 2. In time for spooky season.
Yeah, we
the
got
Sam
a little spooky
Raimi classic.
Month. So we've got that going on. So be sure to check that out if you're enjoying this podcast. But yeah, another thing that we do is we give shout outs to people who give our podcast a 5-star rating and review. And what a better way to kick off this podcast than to give a shout out to Jax. Jax gave us a Spotify 5-star rating and sent it into us. So thank you so much. Yeah, if you want to get a shout out, 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. Take a screenshot of it and send it in to us, and we will shout you out because we appreciate that. And yeah, another thing that we do before we get into the podcast, we usually crack open an energy drink. And I'm worried because I've got experience with this one. It is the C4 Skittles one. And this one's been known to make us go kind of crazy. So, but it's a new era. It's a new era. We got Firefly. I feel like I might need the energy. Did not sleep well last night. Didn't know that this episode was going to be an hour and a half long. This episode of Firefly. Yeah. So what I got the C4 Skittles. What do you got, Vance?
I have the watermelon burst C4.
Oh, I think I'm out of those. Those ones are the best.
This is my last energy drink because as everyone knows, Joe hoards them and keeps them from me, and he just
lies.
He just takes them all because we get these off our Amazon wish list from our lovely
listeners. If you want to donate some energy drinks, we have an Amazon wish list, and it's basically just filled with energy drinks, and then there's some other random miscellaneous stuff. So if you want to gift us some energy drinks, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there's some stuff that's been on there for a while.
But yeah, so what's your experience with Firefly? I know that we've never seen it. I only knew that it was like kind of like a space western. I knew that Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk were in it. I didn't even know that it was a Joss Whedon show until like we decided that we were going to do Firefly next. But I knew that it was a cult classic. People say that it got canceled way before its time. There was an outcry for, streaming services to bring it back, or if there was a movie and everything like that. But yeah, that's basically my background of it. What about yours?
I'd heard of it and I'd seen the movie Serenity, which is the title of this episode, which I vaguely remember. I remember Chiwetel Ejiofor from the original, from like a Doctor Strange movie, and
yeah,
the movie we did for Boys Watching Movies, the Christmas one, the Love Actually. He's in Love Actually also, yeah. So I remember he was in it, and Summer Glau, who's in this as River, was in that, and a lot of the cast. And I think it's kind of this pilot, but better and as a movie. And complete, okay. I think.
Okay, because I saw how long this episode was, and I went back because I'm watching it on Hulu, and I was like, is this just the movie? Because I saw that it was an hour and 25 minutes, and I was like kind of losing my mind. I was like, I don't know. What, did I miss something? But then there was also, I feel like from our Discord, we got informed that they aired the episodes out of order or something.
Yes. They aired episode 2 before episode 1 for some reason. And now I think Hulu is just like combined those 2 episodes in the right order and said, hey, this is the first episode.
Okay.
Yeah, and I gotta say, after watching this, I kind of get where the network was coming from.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Because the first 45 minutes, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to tune in for the second episode.
Dude.
And then the second episode, you're like, all right, this has something. I kind of get where they were going for. And this was a time before streaming services where you could just lump 2 episodes together and like throw it on and have an hour and a half slot. You couldn't do that in network TV back then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I completely understand why they'd be like, dude, you're fucking, this is a whole movie that you want to air as.
No, I mean, I could understand them being like, we don't think we should start out with Restless.
Yeah.
Maybe we earned Restless. Maybe earned that.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe get to know the characters a bit.
But yeah, so you ready to jump into this, Vance? We got anything else to announce up top?
No, nothing else to announce up top.
All right, so let's get into season 1, episode 1 of Firefly, Serenity. This episode opens up with a flashback of war times. There's guns firing, there's explosions everywhere, and there's fighting, there's shooting planes and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then you see Nathan Fillion running through this desert. And at this point, like, I don't know anybody's names, which, I get. You have to ease into the names, giving people their backstories and everything. But yeah, he is a character named Malcolm Reynolds. And everybody just calls him Mal or Mal. And Mal is running through this like desert, and he's like wanting support from backup troops, and like they need air support. And he's shooting some people, and he kills, and he's like kind of advancing to like a turret gun, and he shoots down an airplane. And he goes back to his little like camp area to meet up with Gina Torres, whose character's name is Zoe. And there's some people dead at their little hideout. They've been killed and shot down. And he's like, all right, well, there's one cowardly guy. I forget that guy's name.
Bendis. And I wrote his name down because it's like, he's going to be important.
I'm very glad I didn't write his name down because he turned out to not be important. But he's like kind of cowardly, cowering underneath of a rock, taking cover.
He's shell-shocked.
Yeah. And Mal is talking to him like, hey, man, there's no need to be afraid. Don't worry about it. We've got that air support coming, and we aren't going to die because God wouldn't let our pretty faces die. We're too pretty to die. Look at this jawline and all this stuff, and a lot of God talk. And I was like, okay, that's interesting.
He kisses his Jesus chain before he runs out into battle. So
yeah,
he's very Caleb.
Yeah, he's very religious in this scene.
Mm-hmm. Wonder if that will stick.
But he gets word from Zoe that the 82nd isn't coming, and he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, it's too hot. There's too much stuff going on. And they basically tell his little command troop to stand down, lay the weapons down, because it's too risky for the air support to come in and help them and save them. And then Mal just kind of like, that's so weird. I don't get it. Like, what's going on? He stands up and he looks out over the horizon. He just sees like a bajillion, I guess, enemy ships. And they just start bombing the shit out of the land. And he's like, oh, shit.
And Bendis gets shot right next to him, and he doesn't even flinch, which is pretty funny. Which was like funny in a weird way where it's supposed to be also like the most traumatizing thing that happened. But then that happens and it's like kind of funny. So it kind of undercut the trauma and the turning point of that character.
Yeah.
And somehow they get out of this.
Yeah. They get out of it. And another point to like the comedy of this episode, it's so bizarre, I feel. Some of the stuff that happens in this, I'm like, this feels very weird.
Yeah. It's interesting. I found out recently that Josh Whedon had written Alien 3, the original script for Alien 3, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so he's dipped his toe in some space stuff, and I'm sure he was a Star Trek fan, Star Wars, So they all want their space adventures. I thought the show was going to be a lot more. I thought this was going to be like Guardians, Yeah.
And Guardians of the Galaxy.
And I guess it kind of is, but it's definitely tonally different. And I think Mandalorian is close to what they're going for too, with the spaghetti western aspect of this show.
Yeah, I agree. And along with that, like spaghetti western type of feel to it, like the slide guitar that they punctuate every single scene with.
Yes, the music choice was throwing me off tonally.
Same.
Yeah.
Like every bum like every
so much twang in this.
It's a lot. It gets to be a lot. Especially like when it's an hour and a half of this, and then just it seems like every scene closes and opens with
You just expect someone with like some straw in their mouth and on a rocking chair, in the banjo or something.
Yeah. So yeah, as Vance alluded to, somehow Mal and Zoe at least get out of this situation where there's just bombs across the land. We fast forward to 6 years later, and Mal and Zoe and another guy that has not been identified yet, but his name is Jane. They're exploring a vault that is just on some abandoned ship or something like that. Also, I may misremember some stuff, everybody. I'm sorry. That's why we got Vance here to keep me in line.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
This is going to be a little tough,
We'll fill the
a little bit
gaps.
more difficult with a longer episode. But yeah, they're examining some vault because now they're kind of space thieves, I guess, and they're trying to open up this vault. They bust it open, and who knows what is in there, but they're like, this is really valuable stuff in this vault. We need to take it back so we can sell it. Meanwhile, Wash, who is the pilot of the Firefly named Serenity, which is a spaceship, he gets a warning signal that there are Alliance cruisers approaching, which I guess is like the Empire in Star Wars. And they're kind of like the government space police situation going on. So now everybody's worried and they're like, oh shit, the Alliance cruisers are coming. We got to get this back to the ship and get out of here. They get a woman named Kaylee to turn the ship down because they're worried that their ship is being bugged. They like power down so that the Alliance cruisers won't notice them. And the Alliance cruiser is there, and they notice the ship that's being robbed, I think, right?
Yeah. It's like it's like a space, like a ship that like crashed, and it's like space garbage,
Yeah.
one of those things.
And they're like, should we check to see if there's any survivors? And the guy's like, yeah, I don't really know. Maybe, who knows? And Mal and his crew are just kind of like, let's see if they just pass. Let's just see if they pass. And then it seems like the Alliance cruisers are leaving, but then they are found. The Alliance notices Mal and his crew and their ship and Serenity and everything. And they're like, oh shit, we got to get back to the ship as soon as possible. And the Alliance is going to try to bring the Serenity in for questioning, I guess. And then they unleash some kind of like distraction bomb thing.
It's called the Crybaby, and it's like a decoy. And I guess it emits something that makes it look like a bigger ship or something. So the crew gets back onto the ship and they fly away quickly, and the Alliance isn't happy about them escaping, and they're like, oh well, we'll put out a report about it. It's a Firefly ship that's being suspicious, but I'm not going to chase them. Mm-hmm. And Mal and his crew are all very happy that they escaped and they survived, and yada yada yada. Yeah. Very interesting cinematography, a lot of wild camera zoom ins. And then I wrote down there's a weird lack of space sound when the ship flies away, and interesting music choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed it seems like what they're going for is like the accuracy of there's no sound in the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
But then there is sound when they're like in atmosphere, when they're fighting on planets. You can hear like spaceships launching off and stuff later. And Joss Whedon wrote the theme song.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, that comes up in big text on the screen. Yeah.
I didn't know he was. I mean, I know that they had a musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and everything, but I didn't realize that he was so musical himself.
I mean, he did a lot of the songs and Once More with Feeling. So, I mean,
I figured he had help, He
he didn't like make the music.
Did he sing
performed?
The theme song?
No, it's performed by someone else.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not. I don't think there's lyrics to it.
For the Firefly theme song?
Was there? I guess it was. I wasn't paying attention to it.
Were.
I was just taking a note when that spaceship turned and blasted away, and then it was like, and I was like, oh, that's a real somber. I was expecting the boom, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Instead, it was just dum.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very
music is
vibey first 45 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's also like it's shot so interestingly, and they have the anti-gravity. Everybody's on wires for sure, and like people are upside down in the shots, and it's a little trippy. Just like I guess being in outer space would be.
Yeah, it's always tough watching something like this after seeing so much. Like, what's that Sandra Bullock one, Gravity? Seeing like other movies like that. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So then we have the crew. They open up the vault and they see what's the goods are, and it's a bunch of bricks of stuff, and they look at it and they're like, "Oh, right, this is going to be great. We're going to get so much money for this." And then Mal looks at the backside of it and he sees it's been government stamped, so he knows that this is like, oh shit, this is like identified government stuff. So we might not be able to get any money for this. Mm-hmm. And all the rest of the crew, they're worried that the Alliance cruiser might have ID'd them. And then they're going to go to Persephone, and they're going to try and unload this stuff and sell it to get money. And yeah, that's kind of the scene.
Yeah, and in this we find out that Wash and Zoe are a couple.
Yeah,
and
they fantasize about going on a vacation and taking a bath and eating real food, and
and it seems like Wash isn't the biggest fan of Captain Mao. So
yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are fans of Captain Mao.
Yeah, I love later he's like, "That's why I hired you," and I'm like, "Did you hire him?" And then he started dating, or was she dating and then hired? I don't know. How did you get this ship?
Yeah. I also thought that I don't know certain people's relationships with each other, even by the end of this episode, because there's also a scene where like Mal is hanging out with Kaylee, and I thought that they were a couple together, but I don't think they are.
No, they're not. I thought Kaylee was into Anara when they showed up.
Yeah,
that's what I thought was happening, but I don't think is that what you meant, Anara, not Zoe?
Yeah, no, I was talking about Mal. Like, I thought,
with
Mal was like
being
really, Mal was being really chipper with Kaylee, and like I was like, okay, I'm getting couple vibes, and then
Kaylee's very chipper. I can't.
Yeah.
Well, it starts out where you think Mal and Zoe are a couple, and then
that's true too.
She's with Wash, so it's like, okay, all right.
You think Kaylee's like one of those classic things of like, I'm not flirting with you, I'm just nice.
100%. 100%. One of those ones where you're like, man, I always fall for this. Someone smiled at me and you're like, oh, they must like me. No, they're just being nice. They're just being nice.
She's just a happy person.
She's just a happy person.
Yeah, but is she into me though?
Yep.
I think she's into me.
The dangers of being a nice woman.
Yep. So then, speaking of Anara, we cut to a scene with her, and she is having sex with an Alliance soldier or cop or something, and he's like all about her, and and he's like, do you really have to leave? Do we really got to cut our time short? And Anara's kind of like, I don't know. Are you willing to pay some more money? And he's like, oh, you minx. And so he leaves, and he's like, I could take you away from this life. My father's very influential. I could save you from this. And she's like, yeah, cool. See ya.
Yeah. Anara's played by Marina Bakarin. I forget. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. But she's from the Deadpool movie. She was in that show Gotham. She's the crazy eyes in How I Met Your Mother. I met her cousin at a wedding once. He was pretty cool guy. But yeah, every time like she pops up and stuff, and she has such a unique look. And I remember she used to be on this show, V or something, or some show where she was like an alien that came down the planet, and she had short hair, and they used to play that advertisement a lot, and she had such a specific look in it.
I remember those ads. I never watched the show.
Never watched the show either. It's probably not called V, or I don't know what it's called.
Boys watching V. No.
I mean, if that's what it's called, I don't know. But I just remember seeing those ads vividly, and I think that's the first time I had seen her. And then she pops up and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's been around for a while. This scene is shot so avant-garde too. Yeah,
it's like very dreamy and just like, whoa, are they on drugs? Like, is this supposed to be like an acid trip type of thing?
They do that thing that you were talking about, I think in Restless, where they cut away, but she's still talking, and it's another shot of her not talking, and you hear the voice. I was like, yep, yeah.
So after the soldier leaves, she goes over to like her little pilot portion of her ship, because this is all happening on a spaceship. And she calls up to Wash, and she's like, hey, what's your guys' ETA? I'm going to join up with you. I'm going to meet you. And he's like, hey, we're about 15 minutes away. And she's like, all right, cool. And she flies off.
Her flying that ship looks so funny.
I know.
Her arms are locked, and she's staring at like, I've never driven a ship before.
Yeah, and she's wearing like a little robe type thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny, the dichotomy of we just saw her like in this very intimate setting, and you're like, oh, what's her story? What's her deal? And then she just hops into like a very bright cockpit.
Yeah. Also,
I mean, 2 seconds ago there was another cockpit, you know what I'm saying?
Also, I don't think her leaving that citadel, it looks like, to be on the ship would be the best financial decision. For a companion as herself.
Yes.
Seems like there's more people there than the 6 on the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we have the Serenity landing in Persephone, and the crews are all like, hey, we're going to go get some supplies and re-up. And we see people like grilling and eating dogs. And there's an old guy walking around, and some guy tries to like sell him on a trip. He's like, hey, I'm going to this planet if you want to get in. And the guy's like, I'm not really into it. So Miles, Zoe, and Jane go to this like shifty dealer guy named Badger, right?
I guess. I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure his name is Badger. But they show up, and the guy's like, you're late. And he's like, we're not late. We're actually early. You're trying to make us feel uncomfortable because you're like a shifty dealer. And he's like, yeah, you kind of got me there. But I'm also trying to make you feel uncomfortable because the loot that you guys stole from that vault is all government stamped, and it can be traced. So the deal is off. And Mala's like, what? Come on. Come on, man. We did the job. Badger's like, nah, man, I'm not trying to get taken down by the feds. And there's also been a bulletin out that there's a Firefly ship that is doing suspicious activities, and for the Alliance to be on the lookout. And then at this point, we reveal that this guy, Jane, is the hothead of the crew.
Wrote that exact thing in my note. He's a hothead because these crews always have that one unhinged person that you're like, get them out of your crew.
Yes.
I do like where they end with this, but it's still like, get him out of the crew.
Yeah, so Jane is like, fuck that. You're giving us our money. He like reaches for his gun, and then out of nowhere, there's like 25 people in this room that all pull guns on Miles, Zoe, and Jane. And Badger's like, hey, look, man, we'll kill you all right here. And the deal is off. So good luck. I'm not trying to fucking die because of you. And then he also gives some exposition about like Miles' backstory. He's a former soldier, and he's now just like a scavenger, and you're beneath me. And Miles like, well, I do business, and blah, blah, blah. And then they leave. They didn't sell their loot.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to come up with another plan of attack to sell this loot. And we're also kind of on the run because the Alliance might be on to us.
But we're still going to pick up some passengers because that's also how we make money, being a bus.
Yeah, we're like a
transport
tour ship.
Dude, I love the ship. I love in like Star Wars and stuff where ships will just land in the marketplace. Like it's a giant ship and it's literally like you walk out and you're next to like a stand, like a farmer's market. It was like just wild stuff. Also,
like doesn't blow over some guys. Like you just land on top of some guy's livelihood.
You couldn't land a helicopter that close to something. And the weaponry, I have to question. The weaponry is really ancient revolvers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But 6 years ago, we saw them in space shooting like laser weapons. Is it just because they're not in the Alliance they don't have these weapons? That's what I'm curious about.
Probably. Yeah. It's probably like the Alliance did like a gun takeaway. And
later we see an Alliance person shoot somebody, and it seems like it's just a regular gun too.
Yeah, that's true. They just have like Glocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's the West, Vance. It's
6 years later, though. Technology doesn't normally go backwards like that.
Well,
I mean, unless it's a Mad Max type situation, you know.
Yeah. But we go over to the Serenity, and that old man from before who is passing by, he passes by the Serenity, and Kaylee is sitting outside with a nice little rainbow umbrella.
Parasol that she's twirling around.
Yeah. And she's like, hey there, guy, you looking to travel to, I forget the name of the planet that they're going to. It's like Boris or something. Boron.
She talks to him. He's like looking. She's like, oh, you're looking for a ship because you're not looking at any of the stores. And he's like, his name is Book.
Yeah.
And he's a shepherd, a priest, some religious character. And he's just roaming around. He's not a grandpa because he never married, as he tells everyone. And then
he's kind of a missionary type of guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's spreading the word, but he doesn't explain exactly why he's out, but he's like, I'm back in the world now and I'm venturing out or something. Yeah.
Well, he has some kind of like philosophy too of like, yeah, I don't really care where I'm going. Life's about the journey.
Yeah. We'll see about that, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, he's going on quite a journey this episode.
He's got some skills too that we find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, she kind of talks him into this is the ship you want to get in.
Why don't you hop on? This is the smoothest ride in the galaxy or whatever. And he's like, I've been on a Firefly before, but not one like this. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, then you should come on. And he's like, all right, cool. Check out this box that I have too. And he opens it up and it's the gold shine from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And Kaylee's like, whoa.
Yeah. Kaylee. Yeah, they never really go, hey, we got this cool, he gave us a ton of money, because we don't know how much people are paying for this ride.
It's always with these space Western shows, too, that, like, everybody's always broke. Like, in Cowboy Bebop, the anime, which is a space Western type thing, like, they're always broke. They never have, like, our ship is fucked, and we got to do this job. We got to do all these terrible jobs because everything is fucked.
I love that getting ships, like, fixed is always this thing where it's like, all right, we got to get it stopped, and I got to fix up this part. It happens in Mandalorian a bunch, too. And it's like a whole mechanic situation.
Yeah, man.
It's just one of those
things. Always junkers.
And I'm like, man, getting a car fixed is a pain. This is a giant spaceship.
Yes, dude.
I love that they drive them around just like they're just mopeds. Like, yeah, just here's my ship.
Yeah.
Size of a planet.
So Mal and Zoe and Jane, they're walking around. They're all disgruntled because they didn't get to sell their stuff, and they're worried that the Alliance is going to catch on to them. And they're like, if we don't get the money for this cargo, our ship can't function. We don't have enough gas to get to this thing, and we got to get this money. And then so Mal throws out, like, maybe we should go to Whitehall and meet with Patience. And they're like, Patience shot you. And he's like, yes, whatever. And they're like, we have so many more options. There's this guy Horowitz. There's the Holden boys. There's these guys. There's all these other people. And Mala's like, nah, I think we got to go with this Patience. We got to go to Whitehall and go to Patience. And she's good for the money. And they're like, I don't know, guy. And that's kind of that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kaylee lets on to the ship this guy named Dobson, who, he just hops on. He's like crouched over. He's got his little bags. And the guy named Simon who comes on as well. He's got a big old tank of stuff. And Mal, Zoe, and Jane return, and Zoe's like, what the fuck are we going to do? We got all these citizens here, and we have all of our stolen cargo. What if they find it? Mal's like, they're not going to find it. And Zoe's like, all right. That's kind of that.
Yeah, and we meet this guy, Simon, who looks like a creepster with those red glasses.
Yeah, all creeps wear glasses.
Yeah. He's got that he's got that sinister look on his face.
Well, it's just he looks far too clean.
Yes.
Compared to everyone else. Like he has a bright white shirt, and everyone else is kind of in muted jewel tones.
Well, later
a lot of khaki, a lot of maroon,
which is strange because I mean later Mal goes, "Oh, you rich kids," right? Referring to him. But isn't that the point of the trip? And you picking up people? Is like people that pay you a ton of money? Like, is there no vetting of who you take either on this ship?
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like Kaylee wasn't even really paying attention to who was getting on. Like, no, it's just like wide open.
Yeah.
You could easily sneak onto that ship.
Do you tell them where you want to go? Or are they just flying? Because I know they mentioned something in the next scene, but yeah.
Yeah. But then Wash goes over and he picks up Inara, and they lock up the ship, and they're like, all right, we're off. And the guy, Simon, he looks mad suspicious. He's doing some suspect stuff. He's got a lot of questions, too. He's got a lot of questions for everybody. But eventually, they all have like a little powwow in the, I guess, dining room of the ship. And Mal is explaining how the ship works and the rules of the ship. And he's like, all right, we're going to go to Whitehall before we go to Boris. And Simon's like, why are we doing that? That seems like it's not, that seems like it's out of the way. And he's like, well, the government asked us to drop off some medical supplies. And Simon's like, what medical supplies? Do you know what they are? And Mala's like, look, guy, I don't even know who you are, but I'm already sick of you. Mal is just like, shut up, guy.
It's kind of great that we find out later that this guy is like a doctor. So him hearing medical supplies, he's like, what is that? You know, it's like when you make a lie, you make up a lie that's way too close to the person that you're lying to.
Yeah, I liked it. Mal was like, I didn't even fucking ask, guy. The government just told me to do it, and I'm doing it. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
So Mal lays out a rule too that, like, hey, if you want to go back to your packages and your cargo that you brought on board, like, you need to have an escort, and we'll escort you, and like dinners at this time, and this is the kind of food we got, and yada yada yada. So Simon goes back to the cargo bay without an escort. He's doing something suspicious. He's like looking all around. He's tapping all around. Book is helping Kaylee prepare a meal because he's a chef, apparently.
Or he brought some food too, I think.
Yeah.
I think he brought the food or whatever.
Yeah. And
we do find out what it was in that thing that he opened for.
Yeah. Inara comes around and she's introduced to Book, and Mal thinks it's funny, and they're like, why do you think this is funny? Because he introduces her as like, this is our ambassador. And Book is like, whoa, we got an ambassador on the ship? This is crazy. And Mal's like, well, by ambassador, we mean she's a 2-cent whore. She's a whore.
Classic.
She's a companion. Yeah. If you didn't listen to our Buffy podcast, Nathan Fillion is not a fan of whores in that show. Not a fan. I think that Joss Whedon saw him do this in this episode and was like, the way that whore comes out of his mouth is very natural.
Joss was just stroking his chin like, you know, you should come over to my, like, my female-centric show, Buffy, and take some of that anger out.
You should scream that word into every woman's face that you can in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Sounds good coming out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then Inara gets all pissed off and she's like, fuck you. Fuck you, Mal. You're a piece of shit. And Book is like, oh, well, you know, no judgment here. But whatever. And so Kaylee shows up and she's like, Inara.
Yeah. That's when I thought Inara and her were like a couple. Because Inara gets on the ship and she's like, I'm not working here.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why are you on the ship?
Yeah, I don't know. She's got her own ship.
She's got her own, and she's got her own room on this ship that's all decked out for her companionship.
Who knows, man?
Yeah.
But she and Kaylee, they leave, and Kaylee's like, how many guys fell in love with you and said that they're going to take you away from this life? And she's like, a lot, trust me.
She says, not enough. I think I might be losing my touch.
Oh, yeah. So then Kaylee goes over to the kitchen and she opens the box that Book showed her. And inside the box is a fresh strawberry. And she eats it and she is loving it. Her eyes are rolling back. She's like, oh, God, it's fucking strawberry. Oh, my God.
She has a straight up mouth orgasm eating that strawberry.
Like... And then that's a nice little hint into the world that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this episode, it did set up a lot of stuff very well, I feel like. It sets up the world. It sets up some of the characters, some of their motivations really well. At the end of this episode, I'm like, I still don't know who to trust. Like, I am very, like, I don't know who's on whose side. This is all kind of crazy.
Are you talking about like the episode as the hour and a half, or the episode is like 2 45-minute pieces?
The hour and a half.
Yeah.
I don't know where the distinction of like where this episode would have been cut up.
I know exactly where it is. It's very obvious. Right. Yeah, the strawberry thing is interesting too, because they have something like that in the Last of Us show with the strawberry. But yeah. And Wash mentions having food and fresh food earlier in this episode too. So like they're setting up the world. There's not fresh food. Obviously the Alliance, the big bad, government suck. That's all it is. That's what every type of media.
Down with them. Down with the man.
But once we take them down, then we got to start a new one, and then we got to corrupt that one. But keep starting it over, because in that little beginning part, it's a little rough. The middle's okay. The ending's terrible. So we just want to live in the middle.
Yeah, that's what that Jimmy Eat World song was about. It just takes some time. But yeah, so everybody gathers around to eat. Book talks about how he cooked it, and Book wants to say grace, and Mal is like, you can say grace, but you got to say it out loud.
He says, don't say it out loud.
Oh, he says, don't say it out loud?
He's like, do you mind if I say grace? If you say it out loud.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It hit the way he says it. He's saying, I do mind if you say it out loud.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
But so Mal has lost his religion.
When he kissed that Jesus chain, no more.
Yeah. God did leave his pretty little face behind.
Do you think they're aliens? Because everyone's human.
There's got to be aliens. We haven't seen specifically the Reavers yet.
We will talk about them.
Yeah. But Simon brings up, he thinks it's weird that the government's telling Mal what to do. He's like, you always just roll over for the government. And Mal's like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Then there's this one guy that we haven't really talked about yet named Dobson, who's at the table. And this guy was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and in Angel.
Mm-hmm. He's a triple.
Joss loves this guy.
You know what's crazy? Okay, so I started watching the show Psych. One of my friends loves that show. It's like that USA show where the guy is like pretending to be psychic, but he's like kind of has like a Sherlock thing where he can just like read clues. So I was like, I just want something like to put on and while I'm like doing stuff. And this seems like light and whatever. So I started watching that. I was watching an episode, this guy in that episode.
Dude.
He's been in Seinfeld. He pops up places, man.
He is everywhere.
Yeah.
For one episode.
Oh yeah, he's that guy, man. You check that IMDb. It's like he's not getting full. I don't know. I haven't checked his IMDb to see if like he was a lead character on a cast member on a series, but he is in episodes. He pops in.
Yeah. I mean, good for him, man.
He's great in the Angel episode. And,
yeah, he is.
And pretty good in the Buffy one, too. Like, he gets fun roles.
Yeah, he's all right in the... I'll say he's all right in the... But the Angel episode is the best one that I've seen him in.
I think he's really good in this because it's so different.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
I will say it's difficult because he has... And you'll understand what I say when I say this, but he has a very actor voice. He has a very theater actor voice where it's like his dialect is from nowhere. He's just got standard American English. There's no accent. He pronounces everything. He projects very well. And I'm like, this is very actory.
You mean in this episode or in everything?
Yeah, in this as well. Like everything I've seen him in.
I don't know. I thought in the Angel one he was pretty lax, but I know him as the pool boy from Seinfeld. That was the first thing I ever saw him in. So,
and he also kind of looks like Bob Costas, don't you think?
Not exactly, but he looks like a mashup of like two people, and I don't know exactly who.
I'm telling you,
he's got a little bit of the guy BJ from Righteous Gemstones, but not fully, but like mixed with someone else.
Fair enough.
Discord, have at it. Tell us who he looks like.
I'm saying Bob Costas. But, so yeah, he's there, and he's just kind of like looking around. Simon gives his own backstory. He's like, I'm a trauma surgeon. We see a little bit of backstory. Kaylee's the mechanic of the ship, and she's like kind of making eyes at Simon, and then Jane makes a joke about like, hey, Kaylee was hoping that you were a gynecologist, so you look at her fucking pussy, bro. And then Mala's like, bro, don't talk like that. And Jane's like, what? I'm just joking. And then Mala's like, get out of here. Leave the table. And then Jane like slams his plate down. He's like, fine, Dad. And he leaves. And Simon's like, what's that guy's role on this ship? And Mala's like, he's our public relations. Which was a nice little button on that.
I was liking Simon a lot because he was asking the questions I would ask. Because I love that question. So what do you pay that guy for? It
is very suspicious. Like,
I want to know what ship I'm on.
Yeah, Mala's like being kind of dodgy with answering some of Simon's questions, but then when he hits him with that one, like, who the fuck is that guy? What is he doing here?
Yeah, there's something that Mal does later that's so out of place it feels for the tone of the episode.
Dude, I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then we go to Inara's room, and she is washing herself with a little sponge, and Book comes in. And Book is like, sorry if I'm interrupting. She's like, no, you're good. And she like kind of just drapes herself in a little shawl.
No, you're good. I was just sponge bathing myself in the middle of the room for no reason.
And so she's like, would you come here to lecture me about the perils of my life? And he's like, no, I actually just brought you some food. And she's like, oh, thanks. And he's like, yeah, Mal said it would be nice. So here's your food. I'm not here to belittle you. And I think that it was unjust of Mal to belittle you. And she's like, you know what, Shepard, I kind of like you. You might not be that bad.
Is she not allowed to eat at the table?
I think that she was just mad and she didn't want to eat at the table.
The thing is, there's like not any people on this ship.
Yeah.
There's like, because it seems like she's there to work. And she's like, oh, I'll be on the ship. I'll like turn some quote unquote tricks and make some money. But with who? Everybody on the ship is not sleeping with you. Is it just like is Jane just paying you with it's no money?
Maybe she's there for like the like guests of the ship in case they like, what if Simon wanted to hook up with her or Dobson or something?
Sure, but there's like three people. One's a priest, one's a guy. Like,
hey.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past a priest.
I'm just saying, I think the Alliance was going to probably have more money and be more consistent.
Yeah. It would make sense. Maybe she just needed a break.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe she was just sick of that Alliance dick.
Maybe
she did not want to.
Maybe she just wanted to land her ship on their ship. Where's her ship?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Book is like, what's up with this guy Mal? Like, he seems really standoffish, but he's also protective of his crew. He's a very interesting guy. And he also thinks that Inara might be into Mal. And it's like, oh, is she? Was there a little relationship there? Who knows? And then the next scene, I wrote that Mal pees and washes his hands in the coolest bathroom situation ever.
My thing was, I immediately thought that he was about to whip it out, but he's actually like zipping up. But I was like, what are we doing? It cuts from
it cuts from Mal, close-up like, shot of his dick.
It's just like,
hey, are you into Mal? And then he just pulls out his hose.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what are we? What Whedon? But yeah, he has a retractable. He has a retract. He does like Nathan Fillion. He has a retractable toilet and sink, which is interesting.
I thought it was so cool, man. Really space saving. But then he also, that's like just right at the foot of his bed too. It seems like
space saving. Not sure exactly how the plumbing would work on that.
Yeah. Well, when he kicks the bathroom shut, you just hear an immediate flush.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
So I guess it's just
going out into the.
So I guess it just sits like a porta potty in the top chamber until you push it in, and then it all goes. I don't know.
Yeah, but so Wash calls to Mal because he's like, "Uh-oh, you got to come up to see something," and he's got a signal that the Alliance is onto them, and he thinks there's a mole on board giving the Alliance information. And Mal's like, I know who the fucking mole is. It's that guy that keeps asking me questions.
They jump this like jumps ahead so quickly because it's like, oh yeah, there's a mole. Like, really? Weren't you don't think you were being trailed from before? Remember, you guys thought you were being trailed before, but apparently there's a mole.
Yeah. Badger even gives like, hey, there's a bulletin out on your ship. Mal's just like, no, there's a guy I don't like on here, and he's the mole.
Yeah.
We go punch him out.
There has to be a mole. It could be any other reason they tracked us because they ID'd us. Yeah.
So we go to Simon, and Simon's like kind of snooping around the ship, and Mal he shows up, and he's like, I know you're the mole. He punches him. He's like, what are you looking at? Pulls a gun on him. He's like, what does the Alliance know? Tell me what you told him. And Book shows up, and he's like, yo, you got the wrong guy. And Mal turns around. He's like, what? And it's Dobson. Dobson's the mole. He pulls a gun. He's got everybody in his sights. He's holding his gun out, and he's like, nobody move. I'm a cop. You're all under arrest or whatever. And Mal's like, whoa, 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 whoa. But it turns out Dobson is after Simon. And then so you're like, huh, okay. Maybe Mal was onto something.
Interesting.
And then Mal is like, oh, you're after this guy? This guy's been asking me questions since he got on the ship. Take him. Is there a reward? Can I get paid for giving you this guy? I fucking hate this fancy pants. But Book is like, hey, everybody calm down. We don't need to have our guns drawn. Let's all chill out. And Dobson's like, there's a cruiser en route to intercept, and we're going to take this guy. And if you guys don't act nice, everyone here is culpable. I'll have all of you under arrest. And then all of the crew comes running in, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? This is crazy. There's guns drawn. And the cop, he's got a trigger finger. He's got an itchy trigger finger, and he turns around and just shoots Kaylee right in the gut. Mm-hmm. And then Book punches the cop out. Everyone rushes to Kaylee, and Jane's like, I'm going to go kill that cop. And they're like, that's not a good idea. Book is like, hey, I'm not going to let you kill this guy. Simon's examining Kaylee, and he's like, whoa, she shot in the gut. And Mal's like, no, duh. And Jane is like, hey, Book, get the fuck out of the way. I'm going to kill this guy. And Zoe comes down, and she's like, Jane, you can't kill him. Let's just tie him up and keep him a prisoner. And they're talking to Kaylee, and they're taking her to the infirmary. And an Alliance cruiser is arriving. Wash says it over the intercom system. And he's like, hey, they're telling us to stay on course and hand over the prisoner. Simon's like, I'll help you. He's about to be like, I'll go work on Kaylee and save her life. And then Wash is like, the Alliance cruiser's here. We're going to get the prisoner. Then Simon stands up. He's like, actually, you're going to reverse course and change course. Otherwise, I'm not helping Kaylee. And then Mal's like, fuck that. And they're like, yeah, maybe we should do that. Mm-hmm. And then so he's like, all right, you got me in a bind here, buddy. Change course. I need this guy to save Kaylee. So then, Simon goes to work on Kaylee, and Zoe says, like, we'll kill you if you don't work on Kaylee. And it's a whole, like, Mexican standoff type of thing.
The crazy thing is just that easy to change course.
Yeah.
It's an alliance ship. It's like, we're on to you. Don't change course. And they're like, all right, we're changing course. It's like, oh, that was it? That's all you had to do?
Yeah.
Like, you guys
it's like if a cop is behind you, like, with the sirens blaring.
Yeah,
and then you're like, I'm just going to go off this exit, and then that won't be a worry anymore.
Yeah, I don't know where the ship is, if it's like messaging them from far away or something, but yeah, it just seems like they were like, all right, we're just going to bust a Yui here, and we're good. It's like, yeah, you're space pirates, and you got a lot of stuff on the ship that you shouldn't have that they could probably track too. So you should probably be wanting to get away from them regardless.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So they take Kaylee to the infirmary, and they're working on her, and Simon's...
I'm looking at my note, and it goes at the end of this after Mal goes, you rich kids. They decide to change course. Ship turns, and we get country twang.
Yeah.
It's like... Such an interesting way to go to a commercial break after a tense scene.
Right? So, yeah, Simon's working on Kaylee. He gets the bullet out, and Mal and Inara look on, and everyone's concerned. And
so somber, this music with the close-ups.
Yeah, and then Mal goes, and he's looking through Simon's stuff, and Simon's like, hey, get away from there. And he kicks it open, and he sees that there's a lady in his little cargo box, and she's been, like, cryogenically frozen or something, and she's not supposed to wake up for another week, Simon says. And she wakes up screaming, and Simon's all worried. And they're like, what is this? Are you trying to human traffic this girl? Who are you? This is creepy shit. And Simon's like, no, dude, this is my sister. All right. This is my sister. And the sister's freaking out. Simon assures her that everyone's safe and that they're safe, and her name is River, and the crew is like, what the fuck is going on? Mal is even like, what is this? Is this where you think that the first episode ends?
This is exactly where the first episode ends, because they open up the case, it's the girl in it. We get that little cut to commercial.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
And immediately cut back to the show. That's definitely where the episode would have ended. And in my note, I go, I kind of get why the network wanted to air episode 2 first.
Fair enough.
I understand the thought process of Whedon to have this be the beginning, but I don't think the cliffhanger of them opening a case and then there's a girl in it is strong enough. That needs to be like, when we found out, like, oh, they're after Simon, not after Mal and the crew. That needs to be the part where you open up the case and you see the girl, and then you get some more information, and then something happens.
Yeah,
because it's just such a wait, what? Like it takes this show on a whole different trajectory. Because at first we're like, how are they going to get rid of this cargo that they have? How are they going to do this? There's a cop that's just been knocked out, and then there's like, oh no, there's a new girl involved, and we're like, what? It's such a strange ending, and it doesn't satisfy any of the main characters' arcs at all, or it doesn't have to like wrap anything up, but it's not the right the trajectory of the end of the second episode is like, oh, now I know what this show's going to be going forward. And I understand that as a pilot part. And I think as an hour 25, it works as a full pilot, but that first 45 does not, to me, sell the show the right way. But I don't think you can start with episode 2.
Yes, I was about to say, based on the next scene that's going on, there's no way you can start the scene like, oh yeah, I know who everyone is. Like this next scene, if that's the first scenes that people see on television,
you feel like you missed something. Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely are missing a bunch.
Yeah. And I don't want to tune into episode 2 to see the beginning that leads to the back. Like they had to find a way to air this thing, or they should have cut this. It's tough. Like cut it down to that both of these episodes are for 45 minutes, but they end where they need to end. And they would have to cut out some Badger stuff. They would have to cut out some stuff somewhere. But yeah, I just definitely noticed that. And I do want to say River is played by Summer Glau, who was the ballerina in Angel, in an Angel episode. Yes.
So this scene and presumably the second episode opens up with Simon explaining to the crew the backstory of him and his sister. And he's like, I'm smart as fuck. People say I'm gifted and I went to the best medical school in the whole wide world. But my sister is way more smart than me. She makes me look like a 2-fucking-bit hillbilly. And she's a genius in everything.
I look like a 2-bit whore. No offense, Renard.
She's a genius in everything. Not even, like, I'm a smart surgeon, but she's a genius in the surgery, technology, dance, playing guitar. She can shred like a motherfucker. But
can she play the theme song?
She's the one doing all the But then Simon explains that the government kind of, she got accepted to this fancy government school and she wanted to go and she was only 14. And then he would get letters from her like very consistently, but then he stopped hearing from her. And then he started hearing through the grapevine that there's something's up with this government school. And then the letters that he was getting from his sister River were getting very strange and they weren't making sense, but he realized that it was a code and he said that the government was hurting them and messing with their brains. And so he had to figure a way to get her out of that school and he had to pay people a bunch of money. And he did. And this is how he came to be in possession of her, because he paid some guys to like basically take her away from the school. And Mal is like, that's all well and good, but now I'm pissed because you brought all this trouble onto my ship and now we're in trouble. There's a cop that's been knocked out. The feds are going to be after us. And like now we're fucked because you brought the stuff on here. And then Simon's just like, yeah, sorry about it, bro. I got to save my sister. And so Mal is like, well, guess what? We're still going to go to Whitefall. And when we get there, we're dropping you off and you're fucking off this ship. And then there's a whole argument about whether they should kill the cop too. And they're like, I don't think it's a good idea to kill a cop, dude. That's, if you're worried that we're already in trouble, that would make us even more in trouble. And they're like, but I really want to kill that fucking guy.
Mal is running this ship like a dictator.
Yeah.
And Wash is not down for that. He's not down for the killing. Yeah. He's not down for it. Alan Tudyk from Resident Alien, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, voice of a lot of animated characters.
I was gonna say, he is like a voice acting god.
Yeah, he was in that network show that was about regular people in a superhero world that didn't last long. He's great. It's interesting to see him like not over the top, really.
Yeah.
In this. Yeah, he's very muted in this.
Yeah. But so after Mal is like, if we're getting dropped off at Whitehall and you're going to work on Kaylee, and if she doesn't survive, we're going to drop you off before Whitehall and just leave you out in space or whatever. And then so Inara goes up to Mal and she's like, you know that if we drop them off at Whitehall, they're not going to survive. And Mal's like, that's not my fucking problem. And the Inara's like, well, if you drop them off, you might as well leave me in Whitehall. And Mal's like, all right, see ya.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. She threatens to leave if Mal kicks them out. And my question was, why? What are you doing on the ship? Like,
There's gotta be. I mean, I feel like it's hinted.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's like some kind of relationship between them.
I think they have a history, but it doesn't feel like the relationship is active. I don't think you call her. I don't think you call her.
Hold a candle for her.
I don't think you call her a whore in front of a stranger. And it is like, yeah, that's my. Yeah, they seem like they used to hook up, and now they're antagonistic.
You think it's a thing where like he didn't realize that she was a prostitute, and then it was revealed, and he was like, "Oh, I thought that you loved me."
Or he might
I'm just good at my job, homie.
Or he might have hooked up with her, and then she became a companion. I don't know how long that training session is to become a courtesan.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what are you doing on the ship besides sponge bathing yourself?
Yeah. So Mal walks away and Simon goes up to Mal and he's like, so let me ask you some questions, guy. He's like, that's what you've been doing all this whole fucking time. He's like, what are you up to? I'm curious what this whole thing is about because, if I'm a dead man anyway, like I'm going to die either way. Like I might as well get some answers. Why are you so afraid of the Alliance? And then Mal's like, here's why, and just punches him.
No, he says, you look like you should be working for the Alliance. You look like someone who would be working for the Alliance. And that's why he punches him, because he used to be an Alliance soldier.
Well, Simon, he does ask, like, why are you so afraid of the Alliance? Because you look like you are somebody that would work with them.
That's what triggers him, because obviously from the opening scene, he was an Alliance soldier, and he is now anti-Alliance, anti-religion.
Yeah. Anti-establishment.
He punches Simon again. Simon gets punched the second time.
Hey, to Simon's credit, got a good jaw.
Yeah.
Doesn't get knocked out.
No, gets knocked down, but gets back up again.
I'll get knocked down.
Just lob that up for you.
Yeah, man. So Mal then goes to the cop to interview him, Dobson. And he's like with Jane, and he's like, Jane, I want you to fuck with this guy, but don't kill him. Just torture him a little bit. We need to get some answers. All right, so Mal is like, hey, cop guy, what do they know? And the cop is like, they know everything. All right? And so Mal leaves Jane to, like, fuck with this guy. And Dobson reveals that the girl is a precious commodity, and the feds are going to keep hunting everyone down, and they're not going to stop until they get the girl. And Jane's like, what's your first name? He's like, Lawrence. And then Jane's like, this is going really easily. I usually have to torture people a little bit more. I haven't even like done anything. I just showed you the knife. And Dobson's like, I don't care, man. Like the Alliance knows everything. They have IDs. They have descriptions. They know everything about the ship. And Jane's like, well, Wash may have like scrambled your message. And then this is where things get a little interesting because Dobson's like, look, dude, I will pay you money to help me get that girl back to the Alliance. Like, I know that it seems like you're not too fond of this Mal guy, and it seems like he's not that fond of you. If you help me, I'll pay you, and we'll get out of here. And you might be able to buy your own ship even. And then Jane's like, interesting. Does this mean I have to turn on the captain? And Dobson's like, yeah. And he's like, I've been hinting at that this whole episode.
Mm-hmm. What I did like about this scene, and a little correction to what you had, is that Dobson says, oh, they have all this information on you, blah, blah, blah. And Jane's like, oh, boy, that's a terrible lie. No, they don't. They don't have any of this. And he could tell he's lying right away. And it's like a great thing to be like, okay, Jane's not an idiot,
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, like normally I have to torture someone for this information. You just straight up just lied about like having stuff. So he's like, oh, they don't have any information on us. They don't know who we are yet. So
okay, fair enough. I misread that.
Yeah, no, that's what he was saying, because it's like, no, you don't know. You haven't passed the information on. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So then we go to Wash, and Wash is like, hey, we got a ship on our tail, Captain. It's a lot of radiation emitting from it, and it looks like this ship is like on some kind of suicide mission or something, and oh shit, it's Reavers.
What are they called in Guardians of the Galaxy?
I think they're called the Reavers.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds similar. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't know for sure, but yeah, the whole other ship that picks them up. Yeah.
Yeah. But everybody starts shitting their pants because Reavers are super dangerous. Mal tells everybody on the crew, like, hey, he gets on the intercom. It's like, everybody stay calm. There's Reavers. We're going to stay calm. We're not going to fuck with them. Hopefully they just pass us by, but we are in danger. So be aware. And then we get a little backstory on Reavers, that they're crazy savages and psychopaths that'll skin and rape and kill and
I have the exact quote written down.
Yeah, because Zoe goes to the back to explain to Simon what Reavers are, because Simon's never heard of them.
Well, he's heard of them. He thought they were just stories. And she's like, they're not stories. They'll rape them. He says if they get on the ship, they'll rape them to death, eat our flesh, and sew our skins into their clothing. And if we're lucky, they'll do it in that order.
Yeah.
And when they said that, it made me think of a Garth Ennis comic called Crossed, which is probably one of the most disturbing things I've read ever. He's the guy who did Preacher, and he did The Boys. He wrote The Boys.
Oh, okay.
And Crossed there are these like cannibal, rapist, crazy people. Like it's almost like Walking Dead, but the people aren't zombified, but they're just raping, killing menaces. And boy, is there some just gruesome stuff in there. Like I finished reading Preacher, which I liked. I finished reading The Boys. The show, I think, is better than the comic, actually.
That seems to be the consensus.
But Crossed, man, that is some rough stuff. I read a bunch of it, but yeah, not for the faint of heart.
I will not be putting that on my book list.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Bone Tomahawk?
No, but I've heard of it. And I've seen some clips from it.
There's some crazy, like, Reavers, savage stuff going on in that movie, too. And that movie is brutal.
I am intrigued for when we see the Reavers.
Do you think that we will?
I think you have to, because you can't do that. But
Yeah.
I'm also being like, we've seen some brutal stuff in Buffy and Angel.
Mm-hmm.
But the brutality
Nothing like that, though, yeah.
The brutality that these people seem to have will be very tricky. It's going to be interesting to see how they pull that off, if they do.
Yeah. So, yeah, after Zoe explains that to Simon goes over to Kaylee to, like, watch over her, and Book is praying over her, and River is sleeping, and Inara opens up a box with a bunch of syringes and drugs in it, it seems like.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what that was.
Yeah, Jane loads up a shotgun.
Yeah, this is all with the Reaver spear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Inara's going to, like, maybe kill herself if the Reavers got there.
That's kind of what I was thinking, too. But the Reavers pass by, there's no issue, and they're like, whew, we're out of the danger zone.
Mm-hmm.
So Mal then goes over and he's looking over at River, and Kaylee wakes up and she's talking like, hey, I can't feel below my belly, but I think I'll be all right. And she might have a crush on Simon. And then Mal is like, oh yeah, you used to have a crush on me or something. Like I wrote in my notes, she seems like she has a crush on Simon, but she also seems like she has a crush on Mal too.
I just wrote Kaylee is high as a kite, good at reading people, way too nice.
Yeah, she tells Mal to have some faith in people, and then she falls asleep. And I wrote in my notes, or dies, because Mal's holding her hand and she does the classic movie hand falling.
Yeah, I wrote Kaylee dies, ? Yeah.
Yeah. But Inara's giving Simon some medicine, and because he's like, that infirmary is not well stocked. And she's like, I got that good shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's walking around and she's saying like, hey, that girl Kaylee is dear to everyone, so you better do a good job with her. And Simon's like, I'm sorry for my part in all of this. Like, I didn't mean it to happen like this. So then Simon leaves, and Mal and Inara have some like very tense words again.
Mm-hmm.
They're very much at odds. But then Mal leaves and he confronts Simon, and he's like, hey, dude, you being here has ruined the lives and it has the potential to ruin the lives of everyone on the ship. Like Inara, she'll get busted. You'll get busted. Everybody here, you heard Dobson. Everyone's culpable. You're like fucking with our lives. And Simon's like, sorry about it. And Mal's like, yeah, you better be sorry about it because here's some even more terrible news. Kaylee's dead. And Simon's like, what? He's like, yeah, she just died a couple minutes ago and I felt her life slip away. And then Simon's like, no. And he rushes away and he runs to the infirmary.
Slow motion.
Slow-mo, he's like, oh man, my life is so fucked. I'm dead. I'm a dead man. They're going to kill me. And he gets to the infirmary and he sees Book with Kaylee and they're just like chuckling it up. Kaylee's not dead. And Simon looks like, what the fuck? And then it cuts to Mal and the rest of his crew, like Jane, Zoe, and Wash. And they're dying laughing because this was all a prank. And this is where I was like, what?
Yeah.
Is this the moment that you were like, this felt so out of place? Yeah, same.
100%. 100%. 100%.
I was like, this guy is like super serious. And then this prank is just, that's why that was like the humor in this is very odd.
Well, it makes sense if he goes like the line where he's like, oh, he's our publicist or something, or he's our, that's fun. That's like dry-witted giving it back to him. This is just mean-spirited, but then laughing with the crew and then the other members of the crew also thinking it's funny. It seems weird. After the Reavers, after she was shot, after he's the only doctor on the ship.
And also after it's kind of like sowing the seeds of discontent amongst the crew. Like Wash doesn't seem to really like Mal. Jane doesn't seem to really like Mal. Like the only one that seems to like him maybe is Zoe. But she's also kind of just like a rule follower.
Yeah, she still has that soldier, he's in charge, I follow orders kind of thing, which will obviously get put to the test as the series goes on. But Simon runs in slow motion. He goes, that man's psychotic. And then we just hard cut to everyone laughing. And then Wash is like, you're psychotic. And I'm like, like you guys should not think that's cool what he just did. And it's so forced of a joke too, because we see the hand drop. Mm-hmm. So we, the audience, have to think that she died. It's so much work put into this. Like, it's so much stuff that has to go into this thing kind of working and then getting undercut for this little, that crew, they all get along. Like, like I could see Jane laughing at it. Like, Jane could do that. Jane's a psychopath.
Jane absolutely would.
Yeah. And I could see Jane doing that, thinking it's funny, and then Mal being like, dude, no. Go on timeout again. Timeout again.
Go in the corner, Jane.
No.
You hothead.
No.
Fine, I'll go stroke my goatee.
I'm going to go shave myself with this giant combat knife.
We're going to go listen to some Stained. Like, he definitely, he loves butt rock, Jane. He absolutely would.
He's definitely listening to yacht rock. This is that world.
No way. He's not listening to yacht rock.
Have you heard the theme song to this show? You think
he's listening to Drowning Pool?
You think normal music lives in this world?
Yeah. Fair enough.
River's going to be on a fiddle and a flute later.
Yeah, that's true. They're going to be fucking line dancing by the end of this. But anyway, so then Patience calls the ship and Mal explains to her the situation. Like, hey, we got this cargo. It's government stamped. I don't know if you want it, but we're trying to sell it. And she's like, I'm interested in that. Let's make a deal. And then Mal's like, all right, cool. They hang up and Mal's like, she's going to try and fucking shoot me again. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what? And then he's just like freaking out. He's all worried. He's like, this is fucked, but we have no other option. We just got to go and do this. We got to stage a plan of attack, some kind of defense system, because that lady is going to try and shoot me again.
Mm-hmm.
So, then we also have a little scene cutting away to like Dobson cutting himself free from the ropes that he's been tied up with. The old classic, I got a knife stuck in my back pocket that nobody knows about, and I'm just going to cut this shit away.
Or did he?
So, crew lands at Whitehall. they're taking the cargo out of the ship, and they're worried that they're going to be ambushed in a canyon. And Mal is like, hey, there's going to be snipers here probably. They're going to ambush us from this place. And Jane has buried the cargo. And he's like, they can't kill us until they know where it is. And I'm not going to tell them where it is until they give us the money. So we'll be safe, but we won't really be safe. So Jane, will you go around and look and see if there's snipers and take them out? And Jane's like, right on, buddy. And he's like, kill him only if you need to. And Jane's like, I think I need to.
Yeah. Little fashion corner. Jane is wearing a camo zip-up hoodie.
Yeah, like a fleece hoodie.
What? How?
Dude, and he's got like cargo pants on. Like the fashion is all over the place in this.
Like this looks too Earth-like. Everybody else is kind of dressed in whatever kind of. It's a nowhere kind of clothing.
Space Western.
But he looks like he's about to go hunting in Pennsylvania.
Yes. He looks too modern compared to everyone else.
It even has the pockets. It even has the little hoodie pockets. I'm like, you got to get rid of. You have to cut those off so it's just a straight. You have to do something to make it not look like something that you can buy at a Target. You know?
Yeah. And Mal's got like the Han Solo striped khaki pants, and he's got his suspenders with the old school suspension style, and he's got his little long trench coat type thing, and Zoe's got like a weird like armored corset. And then fucking Jane's got like a Patagonia jacket.
Yeah. I'm watching it. I'm like, something doesn't fit here. It's like he showed up on set with his own clothes and they were like, just go for it. Yeah.
That fits, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jane's like running around. He's like, I'm going to go check out for snipers. I'm going to go beat all these people up. But Zoe and Mal, they're worried. They're like, we're definitely walking into a trap. And they're like, what other option do we have? So then we go back to the ship, and Book is now snooping around. He's looking like he's doing something suspicious. And he opens the door to where the cop has been kept. And he's like, hey, lawman, there's some information you got to know. And then he gets knocked out. Dobson.
Book is going there because he doesn't want them to kill him. So he's going to try to like free him while they're on this planet so he doesn't get killed. But Dobson's got his own business going on.
Dobson knocks out Book.
And he hits him like 3 or 4 more times on the ground. I love that. I was like, this guy's badass.
Yeah, like, because it's very clear, like, you know, Book is an older gentleman.
But
he gets bonked on the head.
Book did knock him out with like a throat chop and a hit. Like, Book has some fighting skill for someone who's new to the world.
He gets knocked down here and does not get back up again because Dobson leaps over top of him. And while he's just like on the ground, he just hits him like 3 more times with, I forget what he has, but he's just like going to town on
what's
this
the
guy.
MMA like thing that like down punch where they just like got him pinned and they're just like hammering him until the ref stops
hammer
it?
fist.
Yeah. I thought he was going to kill him. I was like, hey.
Me too.
Hey.
I thought somebody was going to die in this 2-parter episode because like Kaylee got shot. It'd be an interesting way to open up the show, like have somebody die.
I was like, wow, they just killed the nicest lady. Justin's like, you think I am tired of killing people? I'll just keep killing people. I'll kill ladies left and right.
It happened in the first episode of Buffy. Fucking that one guy gets turned into a vampire.
What, Xander's only male friend?
Jesse.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Joss isn't above killing people pretty
I mean,
early.
that's a pilot thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mal and Zoe, they go down and they go and meet with Patience, and she arrives with like a whole entourage, and they're like, hey, it's a lot of people for just a business exchange. And Patience is like, look, I don't really fuck with you like that. Just give me the stuff.
Did you like that they weren't horses?
Sure. I mean, I get what they're going for, but like, sure.
Did you ever see Briscoe County Jr. or heard of that show?
No.
Okay. That's a show that has our guy from Evil Dead 2 in it. Bruce Campbell. Yeah.
Patreon.com/boyswatchingbuffy, where we reviewed Evil Dead 2. Anyway, quick little plug. But Jane also has found a sniper, and he knocks him out, and then Jane goes up to the sniper rifle, and he starts targeting Mal himself. So you're like, oh, he's looking at Mal in the crosshairs. It's like, oh, did he take the deal with the cop? Who knows? So then we have Dobson running around the ship, and he calls he's trying to call the Alliance, but there's no connectivity. And he's like, damn it! I guess he throws his little cell phone badge against the wall, and he just grabs his fucking Glocks from his bag. And he's just like, all right, I guess we're going to have to go old school with this.
Because all of our weapons are old school.
So then we go back to Patience and Mal and Zoe, and Patience like, I don't see the cargo guy. Like, where is it? And Mal is like, I can't trust you. I buried it somewhere, but I got it. And he shows her like the government. He's got one brick of the stuff, and he tosses it to her. He's like, see, I'm good for it. You just be good for it. But here's what it is. See, it's got the government stamp on it. And she's like, yes, it does. So then Patience opens it, and it's revealed that it's actually food. It's not gold or it's not money or anything like that. Like, it's led you to believe it's delicious, delicious food bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And then so she tosses him a pouch full of money. And they're like, all right, cool, business.
You know what's interesting about it being food bricks? Seems like they could utilize that.
Oh,
for
yeah.
themselves. They now have unlimited source of food on the ship that they're traveling through space with. Like, they're like, we got to sell it for money so that we're going to use that money to fix the ship up. But you also need food.
Yeah.
And they were like, he was like, this brick could feed a family for a month or something. It was like a pretty
I'm sure he
sizable.
kept like maybe like 10 bricks for himself.
I don't think you could take, I mean, I don't know how many people knows how, I don't know who knows how much stuff that they got or what. I think, didn't Badger make them go get it or something? They didn't just randomly get it. So this was like, they were definitely commissioned to go get this stuff, and now he's not paying them. So I'm sure he knew how much was on that ship. But yeah, cool little space thing,
Nice little reveal. Very Snowpiercer vibes if you saw that movie.
Snowpiercer, very Soylent Green as people vibes. Yeah, Snowpiercer's great.
Yeah, that movie is excellent. But then we go back to the ship, and River wakes up, and she starts looking for Simon, and Kaylee's all worried about River, and River leaves, and Dobson shows up, and he takes River hostage. He puts a gun to her head, and he's like, all right, I got her now, and Kaylee, if you say a fucking word, you're dead too. And Kaylee's like, all right, my lips are zipped. Okay, I'm not saying shit.
I thought that was so dumb.
Yeah.
He's not going to shoot River.
Yeah, she's too valuable.
Yeah, she's too valuable. Like, it's a blank threat. Yeah.
As he just explained to Jane.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the government wants her. So Mal and Patience, and they're like, all right, well, we're happy to have done business. And then they're kind of having a standoff. Mal's like, I'd really much prefer if you guys would leave first. And Patience like, we're not leaving. In fact, there's a hitch in this plan. You're going to give me my money back because I could kill you right here. And then Mal's like, you right. And he just throws her the money back. And he's like, look, nobody needs to die here, okay?
Yeah.
I'll give you your money back. You can take the food bricks. I don't care, but let's not die. And then Patience like, I think some people need to die.
Just not a good business person, this Patience.
No. Terrible business person.
Yeah, that little bag of money, too, also seems smaller than the thing that they were going to get. I don't know how the money works, if it's John Wick coins or not, but I was like, that's all, that little pouch is everything?
Yeah, Patience explains, like, I didn't get to where I am here on Whitehall by just, like, giving away money. So you're going to give me my money back.
Classic business. She might as well join the Alliance. Just ripping people off.
So he gives the money back, and he's like, we don't need to kill anybody. And she's like, I think we do. And then so they just start a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
There's no cover or anything. They're just, like, in a featureless plane. And there's just, like, shootouts. One of the snipers... or Jane with the sniper rifle shoots a guy's hat off.
Or shoots him in the head.
Yeah. Well, what's his face says like it's a nice hat you got, and Jane shoots him in the head.
Yeah. And, I don't think. Yeah, I think it was like another fashion. But Mal's not the fashion police here. It is an out of place hat. It seemed it was like a top hat.
Hey man, I mean it's space. This is post-apocalyptic. Who knows? Fucking Jane's got a Patagonia jacket. He's rocking a North Face up there. Who knows what this passion is in this godforsaken world? But shootout starts happening, and then we go back to the ship, and Wash starts talking to Simon, and he's worried about Simon, and Wash is like, I could drop you off at this other planet that's going to be safer. I don't want you going out in Whitehall. You'll probably die. And then Kaylee calls to the pilot deck, and she tells everybody that River's been kidnapped. Shootout's still happening on Whitehall. Dobson's with River. Simon sees him, and he pulls a gun on Dobson. Dobson's got a gun on Simon. There's a whole other Mexican standoff type of thing going on. Jane's up back on Whitehall. Jane shooting people with the sniper rifle. Somehow Mal and Zoe are winning this shootout, even though it's just two of them with Jane and the sniper rifle versus seems like 15 of Patience boys.
Yeah, classically shot where you can't tell what's really going on, but if you cut to a wide shot, you just see people missing, like they're stormtroopers, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
but then there's a little lull in the shootout, and Mal is like, Patience says something, I forget what she says to Mal, but he shoots her horse, and the horse lands on top of her. And Mal walks over to her, and he's like, here's the thing. I'm just here to do business, all right? I held up my part of the bargain, and you're not holding up yours. So I'm going to take my money back because this was the job. I'm just trying to do my job. You can have the fucking government bricks. I don't care. The deal that we had is the deal that I want. So he takes his money, and he's like, thank you for your business. And he just kind of walks away.
You do a job, you get paid for the job.
Yeah. I appreciate that about him.
I mean, yeah.
He let her live, even though she started this whole fucking shootout. She shot him before.
You know, it's so funny thinking, like, he shot the horse and the horse falls on her. And it's one of those things where I know there are people watching us that don't care that they just shot a bunch of people, but will be like, I don't like him because he shot the horse.
Yeah. What did that horse do? That horse didn't do anything to you, Mal.
That horse would have eaten Mal if it had the chance.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a tactic he had to do. Being on the horse did not give her any advantage.
Yep. And also, if that horse landed on her, she's an old lady. She's crushed, dude. She's crushed to death.
Well, I don't know if she's going to be able to get up.
No, she definitely can't.
She just died under that horse.
Yeah, this is like the classic Batman, like, I don't kill people, but I will just let you die.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, she's going to starve to death pretty soon, or somebody's going to land on this planet later.
Yeah. I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you.
And did you mention that Zoe got shot during the shootout?
No, I forgot, yeah. She's got some kind of Kevlar vest type of thing.
Zoe gets blasted back. And when it happens, I was like, ooh. But I also was like, I just saw Kaylee get shot. I know Zoe's not dead, so all right.
And they had that like crazy wide angle shot of her on the ground shooting people where the gun looks like a mile long. Well, Mal also got shot too.
The thing though, and he kind of gets winged, right? She gets she gets shot, and like we get the stunt person getting that like chain whip back, like it blasts her off her feet. And then she's on the ground and she shoots her shotgun type thing. And the sound effect for this gun is just so soft. It sounds like a pistol, not a shotgun or anything. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I thought it needed that bigger boom.
But they all start to walk away happy. Jane comes down. He's like, hey, we won. Yay. And they're like, all right, we did our business deal. Let's get out of here.
Actually, Jane comes down differently.
How does Jane come down?
Jane tells them that the Reavers are following.
Oh, right.
He's frantically running down there. Yeah.
Yeah, because Wash is called to them. He's like, hey, the Reavers followed us to this planet, and they're it turns out they're not just going to leave us alone. So we got to get back to the ship real quick.
The Reavers are better at tracking than the Alliance is.
Yeah. The Alliance are a bunch of pieces of shit.
Why did the Reavers just be like this awesome group of misunderstood people? We had to cultivate this fear so people wouldn't attack us. We're peaceful people.
Yeah. So then the cop, Dobson, he wakes up on the ship and because Simon like kind of tackled him and maybe knocked him out a little bit and was like threatening him. And Simon tries to stop him from grabbing his gun again. But Simon's got his own gun now. And then the cop, Dobson, keeps trying to convince Simon not to kill him. And Book shows up and he's like, nobody needs to die here. And then Wash is trying to get Mal and Zoe and Jane back to the ship. And he's like, come on, guys, come on. And
they're riding horses too.
Yeah, they're riding horses to get back onto the ship.
Yeah.
Like, where'd they get these horses? Do they just have these horses on the ship?
We're gonna nitpick a little bit. No,
and the horses go onto the ship afterwards. Like,
no, they don't
where'd
ride
they
them.
go?
They didn't.
Yeah, they don't ride them when they get into the ship.
Yeah. You think the horses would have ran away during the shootout?
I guess they stole the horses from Patience's crew because they walked to meet Patience.
Yeah, but I wonder, like, did those horses not like scramble during that shootout? Because it didn't seem like there was a lot of horses left. But whatever.
Yeah, but yeah. So then Dobson's begging Simon, like, "Hey, no one's gonna hurt River. We're just gonna take her. And we're just gonna fuck with her brain a little bit some more." And then
we're just going to do that thing that you kidnapped her from.
Dobson shoots at Simon and Inara shows up and the Dobson takes River hostage again. He's got a gun. He's like, nobody move or I'm going to shoot her. And this is exactly when Mal shows up and just blows the cop away.
Yes. Badass. That was great. He walked onto the ship, headshot, done. No questions asked.
For as badass as that was, I think what happens next is even more badass, where he and Jane just grab Dobson's body as the like door is closing to the ship, and they just chuck his body out. They DJ Jazzy Jeff that guy's fucking body on to leave him at Whitehall.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, that guy's fucking done. That storyline's over. Well, let's get out of here.
I love they have to jump into the closing doors before they close too. Like,
oh yeah,
really cutting it close.
So they're like, we got to get out of here. We got to take off Wash. Let's go. We got to dodge these Reavers. And then Wash is like, we got to get Kaylee to the engine room. She needs to work on some shit. And she's like, has no feeling from the waist down. And then so they get Jane and, is it Book? Book take, or is it Simon?
Book is down there too with Jane. Because Book is like, we can remember Book said, oh, I've been on one of these before.
Yeah.
In the beginning. Yeah. So he's going to help.
Yeah. So they take Kaylee to the engine room and Mal goes up to Inara and he's like, look, if the Reavers get on board, I'm down to save you. I'll sacrifice everybody else, but you need to get out of here. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Now this is like, oh, I wrote in my note, they have a tender moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then so Wash is like, we're being followed by the Reavers. And Book is like trying to help keep Kaylee safe. And he's like, I promise I'll keep you safe. And they take her to the engine room and Wash is like, we need to go full burn. And we need they're going to try to pull a crazy Ivan.
A crazy Ivan, yeah.
Yeah, and Kaylee's like, I've always wanted to do that. And I guess they pull off the crazy Ivan, which is just like taking their thrusters and going full flame into the Reavers ship.
They just reverse the ship.
Yeah.
At first I thought they were going to do like some weird spinning thing where one's going one way and the other's going the other way, and they would like do like the circle. But then they kind of just basically reverse and go backwards. Turn around. I did love the moment when Kaylee's trying to get Jane to help And she's like, no, it's going to be real simple. And he opens his panel and it's got all the wires. And the look he gives her was so good.
That looks pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like he's running around like, where the fuck is it? And she's like, look where I'm pointing, idiot.
He is not a technical person.
Yeah, definitely not. But they escape the Reavers. I love that Mal is doing the classic thing of like, Wash is in the pilot chair and Mal has just like got his hand on the back of the chair. He's like, come on.
You know, like when you're in a ship that's doing crazy maneuvers and no one's seatbelted in or anything.
It's just no physics going on.
Yeah. All the G's on that turn and it's like no one's like, oh, whoa. They're just like, yeah, I'm good. No one's strapped in. And I love that we're getting spaceship sounds here because they're in atmosphere. Like we're getting sounds here. So I think that's what their logic is.
Yep. And so once they're out of the woods, did you notice that Wash has his hands out, but he's grabbing nothing at a certain point?
No, but I could buy that.
Yeah, like after they are out of the woods and they're like, all right, we're safe and sound. Like Wash's hands are forward and he's just holding nothing. And I was like, oh, maybe they have like an invisible steering wheel type of thing. And then later Mal just grabs the steering wheel. I was like, okay, maybe that was like maybe there's a little bit of a remaster issue going on in Firefly as well. But yeah, after they're out of the woods, Zoe's like, Captain, I'm going to ask that you relieve Wash of his duties because I need to go fuck this guy like crazy. And Mal's like, go for it.
I forget what Wash says, but it's pretty funny. It's like, never done working. Like he makes some like joke line, but it's fun. Yeah.
So then we have Inara kind of examining Book, who's got like bonked on his head. He's like bleeding from the forehead from when Dobson punched him and banged on his head like 3 times.
Yeah.
And Inara's like, why are you with me, dude? Like, you should go see the doctor. And Book is like, is this what this life is going to be like? I know at the beginning of this, I said I'm all in it for the journey, but I think I'm on the wrong journey now. Yeah. I'm not on the right ship. This isn't for me.
Yeah.
And Inara's like, yeah, you fuck now, buddy.
Yeah.
And they have a little tender moment as well. And Inara's like, maybe you're exactly where you should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is Book about to fuck Inara?
No, this is like she touches his head and they cut to that wide shot and it's like backlit with the light. And I was like, this is so much biblical allegory. Like she's kind of like the Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
And
like well, he's got his head down like, oh my God, maybe not everything is as it seems.
This is like the Mary Magdalene washing the feet of Jesus, you know, kind of thing. It's a lot of that. Like the whore, the religious guy, the guy who doesn't believe and who's lost his faith in Mal, the Zoe and Wash, the freaking horn dog Mary couple, Jane the Judas, you know, and then maybe Rivers, Jesus. Who knows?
Yeah, she's the chosen one.
She's the chosen one. Simon is what is he? Is he
John the Baptist?
Is he Mother Mary? Is he Mary's virgin? I don't know. Who knows? But yeah.
Yeah, speaking of River, she's asleep and Simon's looking after her and he promises that he's going to keep her safe and find a safe place for them to like hang out, and they hug and he's like, we're going to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
So then Jane and Mal have a scene together and Jane tells Mal like, hey, that River chick, apparently she's worth a lot of money. She's very special, according to Dobson. He was after her. She's worth a lot. And I think that we should dump her and Simon as soon as possible to get the feds off of our tail. And Mal's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I don't know when we're going to be able to do it, though. And then Jane's like, all right, cool. I'm going to walk away. And then Mal's like, hey, wait a minute. That cop, that lawman, he offered you a deal, didn't he? And Jane's like, what? No, what? No. And Mal is like, no, I know that he offered you a deal. Why didn't you take it? Because I know that you don't fuck with me like that. And Jane's like, didn't offer enough money. Mal's like, touche. What about when somebody does offer you enough money? And Jane's like, then it'll be an interesting day. And Mal was like, an interesting day indeed. And then they go their separate ways. I was like, all right.
Yep. Yeah, at least it's an open thing where he doesn't fully trust Jane 100%, but they have a bond, you know.
Yeah,
it's an honor amongst thieves,
real type of thing,
kind of thing. Yeah, it was a good scene. I was like, this helped. Like, this is where you need pilots to end. Like, this is pilot ending stuff that's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole episode, I was with you where I was just like, why the fuck is this Jane guy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this guy is bringing nothing to the table. I guess he's the muscle.
Well, he's the guy. He's the guy from the Matrix that turns on him. You know, like what's that guy, Cyrus, or what was his name in the Matrix?
Here's a little fun fact.
Oh gosh, you never seen the Matrix? Jesus Christ! I just make movie references for our audience because Joe has not seen anything. My God. You've never seen The Matrix? Jesus.
Yeah, I know. That's an important one.
That's
one that I am actually ashamed of, to be honest.
You should be ashamed of that. Yeah. Like, I'll let you slide on a lot of stuff because I'm like, you know, there's a ton of movies. People were born different times, didn't hit. But I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. No, that's one that I am like, I don't like admitting that I haven't seen that.
And you're not going to do anything to rectify it.
Yeah, I have time. I could.
Yeah, I know you could.
I don't. I won't.
You won't. I know. Sad.
Yeah. Anyway, but I will go see Megalopolis. I need to see that movie.
All right. 5 Jurassic Worlds in, but no Matrix. Yeah.
But yeah. So Simon shows up and Simon's like, all right, so now that we're off of Whitehall, where are you going to dump me? Where are you going to leave me? And Mal's like, you know what? Honestly, I think that you might be safer on the run. Get some of this heat off of you. And Simon's like, what? Why would we do that? What does that mean? How long are we going to be on the run for? And Mal's like, who knows? But I will tell you, this ship needs a medic. And I don't really know much about you. I know that you're smart and you got moxie, kid. So I think I want to hire you to be our ship's medic. And Simon's like, all right, yeah, I guess for the time being, we can make that happen. Yeah. And Mal's like, you know what? I'm in a good mood. And Simon's like, you got shot. Zoe got shot. A cop is dead. Book got beat up. Kaylee got shot. How is this a good day? And Mal's like, because we're still flying. Simon's like, yeah, this motherfucker's crazy. And he leaves. And then Mal just like looks off in the distance like, yeah. And that's kind of where we end it.
Yeah, he's like, yep, this is Firefly. Just not what I was expecting tonally, music-wise.
Yeah, that's the one big criticism I have of this so far is the music is bad.
I'm wondering if it will grow on it. And I will say at least it separates itself from other stuff. Because I love the theme to Mandalorian a lot.
Well, we used to not really enjoy the theme to Angel.
Oh, I think I like theme to Angel all the time.
I remember saying that I thought it was like kind of boring and muted. But that now I'm full in on the Angel theme song. It gives me joy to hear it.
But I'll say the difference between the Angel theme song is that's not the type of sound. That's not the music that plays throughout the episode.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm more about the music during the episode, less than the theme, you know?
Yeah.
I'll always bring up Death Note has a whole different type of theme song. And then the rest of the show was very muted in music.
Yeah.
So like if the theme was whatever they wanted for this thing, I think, what does it talk about? It's like, is Serenity in the theme? Don't they say something? I'm looking for Serenity. There are some lyrics in this theme song.
Yeah.
That are very on the nose. But it's just that musical tone that maybe it grows on you the more you watch it. And you're like, okay, I get it, this world. But it was very jarring when I first started.
Maybe it also is a little bit too, like I've heard it in comedies too much. Like that same, because it's kind of similar to like some South Park music that goes on.
It's that sting that South Park has at the end of it.
Yeah, and also Key and Peele did a season where they're like driving through the desert, and they also have that slide guitar situation. Right. That now I just like, it's just so, I can get down with some slide guitar.
But I don't think it's, I don't ever find it funny though. It's not a funny sound. Even in the Key and Peele, it was like they're in between going to commercial, and it was just like, it just set a tone, but it wasn't like, oh, that's humorous.
Yeah.
I think it makes it more serious. That's the thing. Yeah. It's like more serious than the tone of the show is serious, but they do want that humor. That's why that moment where he says Kaylee's died is so awkward. In this.
Yes. That's my two big criticism. The music and that scene where he like pranks Simon. That felt very out of place to me.
I hate to side with the network, but I get the thought process of having to start with 2. But it doesn't make any sense. You can't start with like them finding a girl in a box on a ship.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need the second episode as a pilot. This is a good idea, Hulu, to mix them together, or whoever decided to finally mix the first 2 episodes together, because that is the real pilot, the first 2. It should have been a 2-parter. It could have been a 2-parter. One of those 2-parter releases where they're like, let's release this in a 2-hour block.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to also like wrangle in directors and like, because Quentin Tarantino wanted to do Kill Bill as one like 5-hour movie or whatever, however long it was going to be. And they're like, hey, maybe we should cut this up and do 1 and 2. But I thought this was very interesting. I like how it set things up. You don't know who to trust. You can't tell really who's lying. Like, I'm interested to see a little bit more about Book so far. I'm very interested in, because we got a lot of backstory on most people. There's hinting at who some of these people are and what their motives are and motivations, but not a lot on Book, I feel like.
I'm more intrigued to see how smart River is, because when the gun was on the ground and she just started cowering away, I'm like, I guess she's not good at saving herself.
Well, her head has been fucked with, man. She is going a little nuts.
Oh, man. I just hope it's not too much of that crazy person stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know it's going to be too much.
I know.
You absolutely know it's going to be that way.
Are you having a nightmare, River? That kind of stuff. Oh, man. Yeah.
I also wonder, is she going to be like a precog, like from Minority Report?
She does have the look.
Yeah.
But I don't think...
That kind of like spaced out, like staring off into the distance.
I guess I'm interested to see how alien the world is, because right now it seems like it's just people. And we're spread across...
Arizona.
Yeah, and we're spread across... They're spread across the galaxy a little bit, and Earth isn't there anymore, but there are moons that kind of that are kind of a facsimile of it. So, because we never really know what planet or places they're going to, they just name them. Yeah. Oh, we didn't bring up a thing, because I didn't even take a note on this. They're speaking a different language at times.
Yeah, they're speaking Chinese.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I was like, what is a space language?
No, yeah. Every once in a while, they'll just break into Chinese. According to Hulu's closed captions, it's apparently Chinese.
Oh, Hulu's closed captions have been wrong before.
Yeah, they are not that reliable, but it repeated that they were speaking Chinese, like every time that they broke into that. So there's a little curious case of what's up with that.
That's the future when China takes over the U.S., right? I guess they're all American.
Not too long from now.
Yeah. Yeah, like Joe looked down at his watch. Any minute now. Any minute.
Yeah. All right. So that is a wrap on Serenity. The next episode is titled The Train Job. What do we think is going to happen on the train job, Vance? You think there's going to be a job on a train?
Well, I think this spaghetti western is going to turn into a western train robbery. And it's going to be like a space train.
Oh, space train.
That'll be fun. We'll get we'll literally get the movie we were referencing earlier in this with the bricks of food.
Snowpiercer?
Snowpiercer. Yeah, we'll get a Snowpiercer episode.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of like Indiana Jonesy type stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Going between cars, kicking someone off the train, fighting on the, well, I guess it's space, so maybe they won't fight on the rooftop. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'll be down.
All right. That is a wrap, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please join our Discord. We have a lot of lively conversations in there. And also, if you're new and you're a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, go ahead and back and listen to our podcast on Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/boyswatchingbuffy. We're doing Boys Watching Angel, Boys Watching Movies, where we're going to be releasing this month's movie, Evil Dead 2. If you want to get a shout out, Apple Podcast 5-star rating and review, Spotify 5-star rating. Take a screenshot of it and send it in to us. Follow us on Instagram at boyswatchingbuffy. boyswatchingbuffy@gmail is the email to reach us at. And we got merch. We also have an Amazon wish list if you want to supply us with some of those energy drinks. And yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned next time for when we talk about The Train Job.
Don't think it's a good spot, sir. She still has the advantage over us.
Everyone always does. That's what makes us special.
Tune into the Seltzer Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.